a quote I heard once, and this one really resonated with me, was scared people don't know how to start, weak people don't know how to finish, successful people don't know when to stop. And so it was, I just didn't know when to stop, like at all. And I didn't understand when enough was enough. And it was always more, but like more for what reason? And even today, I'm still answering that question.
Okay, so Alex, I wanted to bring someone on the podcast that we've been friends with for a while, and I wanted to talk to him because this is I guess it's kind of broad because I was about to say this is one part of like clinical dentistry I didn't get into, and then in my head I was like, there's like 10 things I didn't get into within
Yeah,
clinical dentistry.
there's a lot of
I
things.
know,
Yeah.
right? Outside of like bread and butter dentistry, but one that I don't know. I took you shuffled me along to an implant direct course right once, and a couple other little random things with implants, but I never really got into placing implants. So restoring them, yes, yeah. Like I
Yeah.
did a couple, I think even last week, right? So pretty comfortable with like that aspect of it, but not the actual placement of it.
I know.
I don't think I ever ended up placing one.
I don't think you
No.
have.
Did you ever end up placing one or not?
Yeah, quite a few.
How many? Quite a few. See, she says quite a few.
I've
Quite
had
few
a
is,
limited. I mean, well, what? I don't know.
like more or less than 10.
More than 10.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I never got into it. And then I was one of our buddies he's a general dentist, but he's just done so much in surgery. We had another friend in dental school who general dentist, and he works for like an affordable dentures, and all he does all day is like really big complex cases. And I'm always like, oh man, this is just kind of like over my head, right? Things
Yeah.
I've never learned but wanted to, and so I wanted to bring on our buddy just to kind of go over that because he, like I said, got into the whole surgical stuff. He started Colorado Surgical Institute, which is like an hour away from us. I know tons of people who have gone to his course, and it's kind of seems like when you were considering doing it and dragging me along to it, the options were kind of going. You always heard like, oh, go to Mexico, go to Dominican Republic.
Yeah, the learning part, because we never learned really any of this in school.
No.
Like they were like implants. No, you can't touch this.
Yeah.
And so it was like something that was definitely on my mind of what I wanted to do. And then it's like, yeah, who do you go to? And it's either you're traveling out of the country for like a week. Maybe that's ethical, maybe not, I don't know. Or it's like these random courses, and it's just like, what can we do? So we're like, okay, let's go to Vegas and go to Implant Direct. So
Yeah, but even with that, you just like it's a day or two, and you're just pretending on like it's like when you're in dental school and you're practicing on a dentiform, and then you have to go into a patient, right? Like they are. They're completely different things, right? So you don't really come out of that feeling comfortable. So Taher, thanks for coming on, and you gotta tell me the proper way because. Me being a white kid from America, right? Like one of my best friends. So funny story. One of my best friends in dental school, his name is Ravi Patel, right? But for the first 2 years, everyone in our school called him Ravi, right? Because that was just and he never corrected anyone until like randomly we heard another person say that, and we were like, "Holy shit, dude! Have we been saying your name wrong for like 2 or 3 years?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Why don't you just say anything?" And he's like, "Never did." He's like, "I'm just used to it. You guys just don't say it right." So can you tell us how you pronounce your name the proper way, so then I never mess it up again until
Taher.
tomorrow? Yeah.
You did it.
Okay.
You got it.
Yeah. See.
Yeah, Taher.
Okay. That
Yeah.
was good. No, but yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. I just kind of wanted to shoot the shit with you on that whole part of dentistry, right? And kind of, like I said, maybe what we graduated in 2013. I think you were kind of similar to us, like what the real solutions or options were there and how it's kind of changed.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed a lot. So I graduated in 2012. There's an oral surgeon who was one of my groomsmen. I was a groomsman at his wedding. And through my evolution, he was like, well, you shouldn't be doing vertical sinus lifts. That should be a surgeon. And then fast forward to, hey, you shouldn't be doing laterals. That's for the surgeons. And then fast forward to today. I mean, he's still not a fan that I place zygomatic implants, but nonetheless, with adequate training and in the right hands, there are a lot of generalists who are doing pterygoids, zygomas, maxillary skeletal expanders, SFOT, which is surgically facilitated orthodontic treatment. I mean, we can do anything. And the beautiful thing about GPs and generalists is it's really anything you'd like to do. And then, of course, it's get the right training, have the right mentors, read the literature. There's so much information out there where you can kind of pick and choose. And then, I heard a mentor of mine once said, a river that flows in all directions is just a swamp. So focus where it's needed. So again, don't try to do all your surgery on every single case in your first year. It's take your time, focus into singles, and then maybe learn wisdom teeth. You're going to learn to get profound anesthesia. You're going to learn flapping in the back of the mouth for adequate, surgical exposure. You're going to learn bone removal and sectioning in an area that's hard to get to, and then removing complicated teeth. So there's a lot of things that stack on top of each other. So then you have that from wisdom teeth, and then single implants paralleling against adjacent roots, understanding the tactile sensation of what the bone feels like as you drill into it, as you kind of bounce off a cortical plate and go into something softer, or feel the antral floor, the sinus floor with the drill bit. Like that feeling, I can feel in my fingers. I don't have to, look at a CT to know where I am spatially anymore. So there's a lot of like that neurobiofeedback feedback that occurs with your fingers in your brain, and you just start to put things together. I've been doing surgery since I graduated. I started my CE and the Dominican stuff all back in 2012. So it took time to get to where I am today. But what I will say is it's easier to get the knowledge now than it's ever been. So what took me, 12, 13, 14 years to acquire, I think that other people could get in 3 to 4 years if they're focused into it.
So you
Yeah.
graduated. Did you ever? Because like that's pretty sweet, right? Like there's a lot to unpack there, and there's just a lot of stuff you said. I was like, oh yeah, geez. So you graduated 2012. Did you want to do OS? Were you thinking about being a specialist, or were you like, no, I know I like surgery, but I'm just going to go the general route and just do it that way?
I had thoughts of like perioprost at one point. They had a program from Penn. It was a 6 year program, I think. Maybe it was 4 years. I can't remember now. I didn't really have it in me to do that. And also, I had met my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we just had other plans to kind of take our relationship to the next level. I also got offered to go to like UAE and get a contract out there and go work out there for a little bit and make some good money. And then it was just really like, what do I want to do? And I just didn't know, but I knew I just wanted to be with her. And so that was easy. It was just like, okay, like let's just focus on our relationship and then see where it takes us. And then we went to Oklahoma for a couple of years. And I was able to just pick offices in very rural locations where they just needed me to jump into surgery. And I like the way I did it. I got paid my W-2. I got paid really well because it was rural. And then I got to go to CE, and she let me spend her money too on all the CE as well. So kind of worked out well for everyone at the end of it.
So did you end up then? Was a lot of it just like trial by fire? Like you were just practicing and like you kind of had? Do you have a little bit more of like a cowboy personality where you're like, I'm just gonna go in and learn this? Like I was there a point where you're like, I don't know if I'm like fully where I want to be, either from an education standpoint or skill set point, but like you got to learn sometime, and I just did it? Or did you like do tons of courses before and like over prepared, and then we're like, now I'll touch a tooth?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I'd like to, I've always said for a long time that I was that cowboy mentality, and I don't think I really am. I think I just said that. Um, my method of doing it is I would read a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. I read the textbooks. I'd be on the beach reading Prost textbooks and stuff. Like I just was so immersed into it and so passionate about it that I just really read a lot. The only thing is that I didn't have hands-on experience, and I couldn't get that anywhere. So that's the part, unfortunately and fortunately, I had to learn on. I think there was a benefit of going to like a rural Oklahoma area where there were no surgeons necessarily in a close vicinity, at least back then. Um, so the patients were happy to have me do it, and then they had like prison contracts. They bring the inmates shackled in their orange jumpsuits, and they were like violent offenders. There was like 4 cops per inmate. And so
Oh,
I was
geez.
just doing a lot of surgery on these guys, um, and generally speaking, it went okay. I did pay other people to come to the office, and I paid other mentors from that corporation to be in the room while I was doing my work. In the beginning, just to try to be as safe as possible, via the Hippocratic Oath of do no harm. I tried my best to do that. But at the same time, I had a lot of complications too. I mean, not as many as I have today, or sorry, more complications back in the day than I have today. But if you do surgery, I mean, you're going to have complications. You just have to really do your case selection well. And that's what we teach a lot of is how do we select the right patient? Because good case selection in the beginning will lead to good outcomes. Good outcomes lead to confidence. Confidence in yourself then reverberates into your team. Then the team sells the cases for you because they're like, yeah, we've seen Doc do this day in and day out. Like, yeah, you're in the right place.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then when did you, so tell us a little bit more about your journey from, I guess you're in rural Oklahoma, you're a couple years out. Did you start taking some of those overseas courses, continuums, whatever you want to call them, to just get more reps in?
I thought that's what I needed, and I took the advice of other people who had gone to these courses. And I went there, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to get 30 implants." And it was some German implant. It was a really shitty implant, um, but nonetheless, like I flapped 30 cases, I placed 30 implants, but they would make you put in 4 implants in a site where there was only you only needed two to restore. And the problem that happened with the Dominican and a couple of companies have reached out to me to go out there and fix things is the government's actually getting involved to fix a lot of the shoddy work that's done because patients came in, they're just dropping implants anywhere and with no restorative plan in place. And so now it's got so bad that the government's getting involved to bring people in to fix what's been done. So with that said, like we had panos, it was film panos. I asked for soap to wash my hands, and the instructor just poured alcohol on my
Oh,
hands.
geez.
Like some of the courses and stuff out there aren't good. I'm not saying all Dominican courses are like this, and things have improved significantly over the past 13 years. But my experience was just reps. And it's like, well, I could do my reps placing a screw into a 2x4 here in my garage. That's kind of similar what I got over there, but nonetheless, that's all I knew at the time. Now I know better courses exist. Now I know where to take people and what courses I'd recommend outside of my own. But that's just through, me being in the industry now and being an educator.
So like
Yeah.
how many implants do you think you've placed since
Ooh,
graduating?
I don't know, a lot. I mean, I'm close to 1,000 arches, and you place like 4 to 6 implants per arch, and then that doesn't count all the singles I've done. So a lot now.
Yeah, so you're probably closer than like what, 10,000 or so
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, I mean, wherever you get to mastership, like I'm in no way, shape, or form God's gift to surgery, but at this point in my career, I'm pretty darn good.
You're just humble. We just know that's how you
Yeah.
are. But yes, no. Yeah, I think the general consensus is you're good at what you do. Um, okay, so then we kind of got to know you when you had moved up to Colorado, right? So you went from Oklahoma, then is that when you came to Colorado then after that? And did you do a startup then?
So I was doing all the implant courses back in Oklahoma, then came to Colorado. Then I continued the continuum. There was always courses and things to do. But I did the whole Carl Mish thing. So I flew out to Florida like 7 times. I flew out to the Dominican twice. It was a size. I mean, I've spent over $200,000 into just surgical training over the years. Now you don't have to do all of that. Back then you did. There was some use YouTube University, but not to the degree that we have today.
So then you're here. Did you go straight into the Greeley?
No. Oh yeah. Okay. No. So I
Oh
was
yeah,
doing
because I
the
think you
startup.
told us you were going to tell us the story last time, and
Oh
I
man.
didn't hear
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So, then I was in Oklahoma. I was looking to do a startup here. I had like always my dream of like, I'm going to create my own practice. It's going to be my vision. And then I was like, I'll have multiple practices and blah, blah, blah. I had all these like big, big dreams. And so I'm in Oklahoma. I'm vetting out some land in a place called Erie, Colorado. This was before Erie was really developed.
Yeah.
So the problem that occurred is I was using a broker that was dual representing, but not really dual representing. So they kind of skirted around the law on that one. But looking at it at its face value, they were dual representing. And I wasn't getting all of the marketing numbers in appropriately. So my demographics went from 1 to 300 or 3,500 to like 1 in like 1,200. But they weren't telling me other corporate offices were coming in right across the street. So they were holding on to information for me because they wanted me to close the deal. So I was buying the land, building the building, and then had developers and all the things. So I had architectural fees, I had development fees, I had contractual things I had to back out of. And then I got into a position where the land didn't appraise either because they were pulling comps on the land from Boulder because Erie wasn't developed. It's like, you guys got to be out of your freaking minds to charge
Yeah.
me
I mean, if
prices
anyone
for
knows,
Boulder.
yeah,
Yeah.
like for anyone not in Colorado, like Boulder's expensive, right? And Erie, think of it as like a, I don't know, what is it, 10, 15 miles kind of outside. It's almost like if you wanted to say like a suburb maybe of Boulder, kind of just on the
I
outskirts.
wouldn't even call it that. It's like its own thing. It's not even
Yeah, I guess it's
close to
further
Yeah.
Boulder,
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod.
So none of it made sense to me, but also at the same time, like I was so young and ignorant, I didn't really know what to do. And they're like, hey, you need to come up with an extra like 300 grand for the land. And so I'm like, okay, my demographics are shit. I can't afford the land. I just paid for my wedding. We had just put a down payment on our house. Like we're trying to have a kid. Like all of this stuff is like the worst timing in the world for us. And I get the call. I'm like in Florida, like at Disney, getting the call, and I just like put it together like while I'm on vacation. I was like, dude, I think I'm like this whole thing just blew up in my face. And
Uh,
then, I do quick calculations and stuff. It's not like I had to file bankruptcy or anything, but like by the time I paid architects and legal and all that, like I didn't have a lot left. I had like under 10 grand.
Yeah.
And so we had both been dentists for 3 years. I just got the liver punch. For any boxers out there, you've hit someone in the liver, it, like releases all this shit into your system, and like people just like KO on a liver punch. So I just got like the liver punch, and I'll never forget this moment. I mean, God, like I fucking love my wife. I told her, and she was like, "Hey, if anyone can get this out, if anyone can get us out of this, it's you." And like that's first words out of her mouth when she realizes I had just lost everything. And and so I was like, okay, like let's go. So I call the brokers. They find me something in Greeley. I was like, hey, I'll drive, 90 minutes one way. Just find me something. We lived in Denver. Greeley's an hour north. So I met the guy. He had a practice doing 1.1 with like a 68% overhead. GP practice, does some endo, does some extractions, things like that. And he had a lot of offers on the practice too. He had like 14 offers on it. And it was just a healthy one. It was just good across the board. He actually flew me out to go meet Gordon Christensen.
oh,
And
wow.
yeah. And so I guess him and Gordon were buddies. And, I just chatted, answered a lot of questions. I seemed like I knew what I was talking about. Granted,
Yeah.
I was heavy on the literature. So I read all the time. So I could answer Gordon's questions and like talk about different products and the benefits of the products and like, random stuff. And then I guess, him and this guy named Rich chatted, and Rich was like, yeah, okay, you seem like you care about your craft. You know what you're talking about as a younger dentist. I'll move forward with you type of thing for the practice purchase.
So he must have really wanted a good heir to his practice, right? Like
Hmm.
obviously he didn't want to sell to anyone if he
Yeah. And he
either
cared a lot about a legacy. Like one thing I
yeah.
did, and for anyone who's doing an acquisition, I think this is potentially a play, is I said, hey, he has two daughters, he has six grandchildren. I was like, look, your family, your daughters, your grandkids, like they're good in this practice until your grandkids are 18. I'll honor that. And it was probably like a 12-year commitment, probably more than that. But I was like, look, I'll take care of all their stuff. If they have lab bills, I'll, have them pay their lab bills, but I'll do their restorative and their hygiene and everything, and it'll be on me as a thank you for creating this thing. And
Yeah,
so I
that's really
think that's
nice.
also
That
like
goes a
gave me the
long
edge
way.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually really smart. Did you just think of that randomly? Is that just like how
It
you're
was,
wired?
yeah, it was just shooting from the hip. I'm a pretty good read on people. I'm better now than I was then. Um, And it's just that thing, like I just knew he cared deeply about his daughters. And as we were talking, it just kind of came up. It's not like I had strategically planned it or anything. It was just conversational.
So then you ended up going the route of, I'm gonna do a startup, and like not just like a start, like I'm gonna buy land, I'm gonna build a building, like a like ground up startup, right?
Yeah,
And then you pivoted into going into an acquisition. So then,
correct.
did you turn that practice? You liked surgery and stuff. Was this office, did it do decent amount of surgery, or did you see this as an opportunity on like, hey, it's doing 1.1 million? It seems like it's got pretty. I mean, it's got to have decent systems if it's doing seven figures, right? Like you would think like decent enough, right? And did you just see like, hey, I have a ton of opportunity here in this patient base where it's at, that like the skill set I bring or the additional services I want to do, I could really make this a much bigger profitable practice, see more patients, serve more people, however you want to define it, right? Like, did you just see a ton of opportunity?
So all those things you said ended up being true. And I was so much on tilt at the time that I kind of just chose anything where the numbers look good. And
Okay.
I happened to just stumble into this. Now, granted, with that said, I mean, I think a lot of it is you can be successful anywhere. I believe you can go to like San Diego and be successful and open up a cosmetic practice. It's like there's always room for the best type of mentality.
Yep.
However, this place like did check a lot of things off the list for this being an acquisition that could be in value add, that could bring a lot of surgery into the practice based on the geographics, the type of people who live there, the agriculture industry, the oil and gas that's out there. Um, and so it ended up working out really well and was so yeah, it just ended up being a practice that had the ability to be this value add that I was hoping for it to be. And then, he had like film x-rays, he had paper charts. So I had a
Oh
lot of
wow.
updating. Yeah, I had a lot of, dude, in the beginning, I was learning how to develop film,
Yeah, wow.
so we were doing the dunk tanks and everything. And that's stressful when you do implants because then I have to wait 8 minutes to find out where
Yeah.
my
Oh, that's like,
guide pin
yeah, that's
is.
like dental school. I don't know how it
Uh-huh.
was at Penn, because you were at Penn, you said, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah,
in
we had like the little
Indiana when we were
phosphorus
there,
plates.
it was
Yeah.
yeah, we were in the middle of switching those, remember? Because so we had it set up to where there were oh, what was the name of it? It was like the first floor, and it basically was like they would give you it's where you get new patients, right? So they'd have like a stack of 20 charts or however many they had for the day, and they just pass them out to each person, right? And then you'd go in, you take your FMX, and you would develop them. We still had a development room because I believe, right,
They
they
were
were
all
the
film. Yeah.
it wasn't all film though. They started to go digital, but it was still, I think, the digital ones where you had to run them through
Hmm.
some something,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it would
Yeah.
digitize it, right, and pull it up. But is that what the phosphor plates were? I'm
That's the phosphorus ones. Yep.
okay. Yep. So we would still go into the dark room, I think,
Hmm.
and still develop it. And then, yeah, it would show up that way. But yeah, I remember having to do those. And it's just, even the first practice I worked out here in Colorado was like a corporate office that corporate chain has probably changed hands like five times. But it was all just film. And I remember it was so hard because you talk about like, they're like, hey, be efficient, be productive. And I'm like, yeah, but now there's like this thing on like, do I take an x-ray? Do I not take an x-ray? I'm going to have to wait 10 minutes for this. Like it really slows down your efficiency.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so anyways, you're updating a ton of stuff, right? And you're bringing more procedures into the mix.
Yeah, and so he wasn't doing Invisalign, so and I had been trained with bracketed ortho as well, so I was like, hey, do I add brackets? Do I add Invisalign? Do I add surgery? Do I do wisdom teeth? And then younger me is like, I am broke as shit. I'm gonna do it all, and so I started trying to implement everything all at once, and it wasn't a good idea. Now I stumbled my way through it and figured it out, but I burned a lot of good people out along the way. I had a lot of great team members that just couldn't keep pace. And a resounding thing that a lot of people told me through the years is they just like they really believed in what I was trying to achieve. I had a DA pull up in the parking lot next to me one morning. She's like, "We're going to make you a millionaire," because she saw the beater I was driving and saw the hours I was working, how stressed out I was, and gotta freaking love her for that. But I burned a lot of people out through the years, people who like that, who like cared about me deeply to like really see me succeed. And they just couldn't keep pace because it's too much at once. It's just an unfair ask for a DA to learn all the specialties, implement all the specialties, and handle all of that. It's the same thing with the administrative team too.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then
wow.
what did you take, you said that practice was doing like 1.1. Were you able to grow that a lot, like from 1.1? And you don't have to give like specific numbers, right, if you don't want to, but like I would like, generally speaking, what did you turn your
Mhm.
practice into?
Yeah, so in year one, I just did the DIY, listened to podcasts, tried to do it on my own type of thing. And I got the revenue up to 1.5 and the overhead down to like 64%. So 4% shave on the overhead. The next year, I started private coaching with DSI and with Mark Costas and that group. And I was able to increase revenue to 2.2, but then I got the overhead down to 50%. That was a life-changing year for us. It really helped a lot of the anxiety go away. Granted, I didn't take my foot off the gas for a while after that, but nonetheless, like that overhead change in 1 year was significant. And then, fast forward to about like 2023 or the end of 22, we finished, close to 5 million with like a, 55% overhead. And that's 6 operatories, 5 doctor days, 8 hygiene days. So it's not like, anything like not a huge operation. We were just cranking out of 6 operatories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
geez. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So then what made your motivation from like, hey, because I'm sure if a lot of dentists are listening to it, they're like, holy shit, this guy took a practice that was doing a little over a million. Okay, now it's doing 5 million. And then they know you also have like a Colorado Surgical Institute, and they're like, why do you keep on doing all this shit? Why aren't you just like satisfied, right? Like, so what
Yeah.
was the motivation to be like, all right, now I've got my office going. Now I'm gonna go into create
Education. Yeah.
education and
Yeah.
creating, my own continuum for people.
We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of one new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, I mean, why don't I settle? A quote I heard once, and this one really resonated with me, was scared people don't know how to start, weak people don't know how to finish, successful people don't know when to stop. And so it was, I just didn't know when to stop, like at all. And I didn't understand when enough was enough. And it was always more, but like more for what reason? And even today, I'm still answering that question. I think 50-year-old me will look back at 41-year-old me and be like, okay, I think we got it, bro. But at the same time, it's, you know, more for what reason? And so this is the conundrum and the paradox I'm in right now. So what I would say back then when I was starting everything, it just started super organically. And I was just so excited that people cared about what I had to say, that when they invited me to do things, I was like, yeah, of course I'll do them. Like, hey, you're this person, you believe in me, like let's go. So I did the practice launchpad with Chris. We wrote a book. We were helping people with startups and acquisitions and all of that. That was a really fun project. Then Colorado Surgical is people just would come by the office and watch me do surgery. And I was super honored that people just even wanted to come watch me work. And then they started wanting me to come to their practice. And I was like, okay, that's awesome too. And then we started getting paid by other groups to come out and like fly out to other states and train their groups of dentists. And then it got like really like busy, like I was busy. I was, had kids and me and my wife were talking and I was just starting to burn out. I was getting insomnia just because I was having
Yeah.
all these ideas in the middle of the night and just trying to write everything down so I wouldn't lose a good idea. And it was one of those things that's like, like, hey, I didn't sign up for a husband who was traveling, working on the weekdays and traveling on the weekends.
Yeah.
And it was that movie, A Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come type of
Yeah.
deal. So I was like, all right, there's a plot of land I had my eye on that was across the street from the private practice. Um, let's build something. Let's just build it. So I built it by myself. The other partners in Colorado Surgical were like, hey, like this is you, bro. Like we don't necessarily want to get into the construction thing right now. And I had all the experience with Chris in building, so I took a lot of the skills that I had taught other dentists through startups and acquisitions and de novos and applied it to this 12,000 square foot facility. So it took about 2 years to build it. We have, 18 ops on the main floor. We have conference rooms in the basement. One conference room can hold 70 people. One conference room can hold 50 people. Projectors, the full kitchen, multiple refrigerators, like, other companies now rent it and host events there. And that also, I mean, I thought I knew what I was talking about when it came to building stuff. I learned a lot on my own project. It's a freaking nightmare. I'm proud of it for sure, but at the same time, like I don't want to. I told my wife I'm not building anything again until I'm like 50. Like I don't want to deal with that shit again for a while.
Yeah.
It took a little bit of stomach lining. So it just naturally evolved into it, and it was that thing of like I can go and travel and get contracted as an operator, or I can build something here and cross my fingers and hope people still continue to want to come to the courses. And the thing with implant companies and sponsors and all the stuff, if you have to keep canceling courses because you don't have a full course, like they just take funds and supplies and things elsewhere. And we were lucky enough to sell out the first year. I mean, we had some influence because I'd been teaching for a while. Mark Costas is one of the partners as well, so he has a pretty large megaphone as well. And we were able to not, send people to implant pathways. We were sending people to pathways like every week. So it was like, okay, well, let's just open our doors and bring people in and see if we can do something here. And it just ended up working really well. We do have a really good reputation surgically, and we do take a lot of time to curate a really good experience for the dentist. And we made the decision to forego profit on this company for the first 2 years and treat it like a nonprofit, just so we could create a really epic experience. And
Yeah.
because of that, that's why I think we still exist, is because we just reinfused all our dollars into the company and to really build out our programs and to really focus on what we were trying to create for dentists. And now we're at this place where the courses are filling out. We're marketing, but not a whole lot. It's more of like that word of mouth. People are talking good things about us, and the courses are just filling now.
Well, it seems like
Yeah.
you're playing the long game, and we see this like with several people we've had on the podcast, right? And anyone who's when we've seen them like post exiting, right, their company, or they've grown it a ton, they seem to have a similar story of they never really played the short game with stuff and like the quick sale or anything. They focused on, the 5-10 year time horizon, right? Or longer, right? And it seems like even your story of, you learned a lot about implants, you read a lot about it, you took all the courses, you also did some of it and weren't afraid to do it, right? You kind of just built a reputation through that. Then you got into, dealing with DSI or DSN and dealing with Mark Costas, right? And he's got a big platform too. And I'm sure they saw you as someone who was a young buck who was, doing a lot of good stuff, and people probably gave good feedback, and you were probably honest with people and helped them out. And so like, it just seems like you grew very organically through just quality, right? It seems like it doesn't matter like how good of a product you have, how good of a product you don't have. Well, you gotta have an okay product, right? But it seems like nothing ever beats just quality, right? Even if it takes longer, like you can win with quality. And that's just a common theme that I've seen with people on the podcast who have a similar story to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And the one thing though that I will say is it's scary when you hinge on organic, because it's such a slow growth, and that you're growing your roots more than you're growing the trunk of the tree, that there's nothing to show for it for a long time. And I like almost envision it of like I have 1,000 yards to go. I'm digging this ditch to this like source of water to irrigate my crop, and it's like 999 yards. And for 999 yards of trenching in the hot freaking soil or hot sun, I have nothing to show for it. And then that one extra yard irrigates my entire field forever. And so it's one of those things that's like you don't know if it's 10 yards away and you don't know if it's 1,000 yards away, but nonetheless, you got to still keep digging. And then I think that's when you have those people where you're like, oh, well, how did you get to this success? Like, must be good to be you type of thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, bro, like if you looked at the sunburns on my neck and back, it's like I've been toiling forever trying to create this thing. And I don't know how I did it, quite frankly. There's a lot of luck that comes along the way, but it's just this determination to just stick with it. And so that's what I encourage everyone to do is like, if you believe in something, just stick with it, keep digging your ditch. because the source of water is there at some point. It's just it's there for other people in a shorter period of time, and it's there for others, and it takes years. And quite frankly, if it takes you 5 to 10 years to do it, I respect it more too.
Yeah. So I mean, at CSI, how many courses are you guys doing a year? How does it like are dentists getting the same? I almost was going to say the same Dominican Republic experience, and I was like, yeah, no, I should stop
Yeah.
that because you said it wasn't great. But in terms of like having the ability to get reps in and stuff, right? So like, if I'm like, hey, I want to take your course and do it, like, what's the expectation with you guys?
Yeah, I think one thing that sets us apart, I mean, besides, okay, so a few things. We're stateside, right? So it's easier to get to us. Colorado has an international airport. It's just easy. It's centrally located. Two, we don't do a week-long thing because the one thing you have to factor in is there's opportunity cost lost of the days you can be in your practice, spinning the handpiece, creating revenue. So if I take a week off work and I go to the Dominican, yeah, it cost me 10 grand or whatever it did, right? And they might throw in some all inclusive and whatever, but I got to factor in all the dollars I lost from not working that week. Versus we set it up for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so then you can be supremely productive in your 3 days, then fly out and then go home Sunday type of deal. So there's like the equating dollars to dollars isn't always the same in a structure that's different for everyone. Two, we're helping out people in our backyards. I mean, like, yes, it's nice to help out the third world, 100%. But God, there are so many people that need our help. Like, I'm meeting with like politicians. How we had a press conference. Quite frankly, press conferences aren't all that big. Like, I thought it'd be like multiple news organizations. It was like one reporter, one photographer, and like three politicians.
Oh,
But
I
nonetheless,
envision it's like yeah, I
yeah,
envision
I
it's
thought
like the
it'd be
sports
this
stuff,
like
right?
epic
Where
thing,
like there's
right?
like a big banner in the back and like all you can't see because it's just lights flashing constantly at you, and then you say something and then
Yeah.
like yeah, no, it's not that cool. Okay.
No, it was not that cool, but we made a lot of connections with the Department of Human Health Services and all this stuff. So like we're really helping out the governmental agencies that are getting stressed out now, and the patient acquisition component is pretty dialed in. So another thing we do that's different is if you were to call me, we would do an intro call and I say, okay, well, how many have you placed? What are you looking for? What are you good at? What are you not good at? And let's say you're brand new, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pick cases that there's a mile and a half of jawbone on day one, right? I'm going to build your confidence and give you stuff that like doesn't shoot your confidence on day one. And then I'm going to slowly, incrementally, and sequentially move you into cases that are a little bit more challenging. And the final case I'm going to give you is something that you should not do at home. So then that way you can hit this brick wall on the last day. You can have all that like good built up karma built up into you. But then we can also say, hey, this case is hard. These are the reasons it's hard. When you see this, go ahead and refer it out, or at least know you're going to be doing it for free. Because by the time you're done, with all the
Hmm.
post ops and other things you're going to do, you're going to break even on it. But at least it's the cost of knowledge to get further into the game. But we also teach people like where to draw the line too. So it's not like, hey, you took a weekend course, go do everything in your practice. It's like, no, there are going to be guardrails up here so you can have success and you don't have complications.
Yeah,
Same thing for wisdom teeth talks.
you're putting someone almost like on a custom journey, right? Which is
Hmm.
nice. So then you don't
Yeah.
fit into the same, yeah, which is that's pretty cool.
And then we have like an advanced doc come in who's still signing up for singles. He thinks singles are for the rookies. It's like, no, I'm going to give you vertical sinus lifts. I'm going to give you narrow ridges. We're going to harvest bone from the ramus. You're going to do a pericardium and buccal overlay graft and then place your implant into a tight spot. So I'm going to look at your ergonomics. We take pictures of what their, posture looks like. We look at their lighting. So I'm with people who are a little bit more advanced. I'm like, okay, how do I improve your efficiency in the cases you do and keep your back from like needing a spinal fusion in 10 years? So like we're gonna focus on other things. And then you can bring your DAs, we can train them on phlebotomy. There's just a lot of things we can do. So I'd like the calls with people because I can understand how their practice runs, and then I can understand how implementation needs to be for them, because it's not a one size fits all. And then we're going to do calls afterwards, uh, with case planning, implementation, strategies for getting more surgical cases into your practice, just ways to get you reps as well. So it's not just a clinical course. We handle the business, the treatment planning, the philosophy, and like the thing that a lot of people have that holds them back is their lack of confidence. And And it's hard because a lot of the docs are really, really great, but they're their own worst enemy in the way where they just won't take the first step because they think a specialist is going to be better suited. And what I will say to that is there are amazing specialists and there are average specialists. And there's amazing GPs and there's average GPs. And if you just care enough to want to get better and you actually like surgery, like, yeah, I mean, you can learn it. I'll teach you. Like, that's easy, right? But it's just how do we implement that into your practice and make your investment worth it? That's where the work has to go into play, and that's where I need someone who's ready to implement. If you're ready to implement, I'll be in your corner till I'm an old man on my cane and walker. You know, I love what I do on this end. I love teaching.
I mean, I think for me too, when Alex and I were talking, I was always like, I don't want to get into implants, right? I think the other piece of it too that was always a challenge for me was not feeling confident with the complications, right? And not like, I remember in the military, there was an oral surgeon, and I think he was taking out thirds, and I think he took out like maybe number 32, right? And he nicked something, right? And it just kept on like bleeding, and we were in the room. But like he was like, okay, well I know how to handle this. And the whole time I was like, holy shit, if that was me and I did that, this person would probably just bled out. I would have killed him, right? And like I'll just go to like that dark place, right, of that happening. And so I think a lot of us too are just like, oh well, it'd be a lot easier, and the ideal would be, I work with a dentist like you. I come on as an associate, and I like have someone for a year that I can just like look over and mentor and watch. But like that just really isn't reality. So how do you handle situations like that when it seems like, I would imagine a lot of other people have that fear of like the like not knowing how to handle the complication.
Yeah. So my brother's an anesthesiologist, and he wrote our IV sedation curriculum. And one line he put in there is, it's always easier to keep you out of trouble than get you out of trouble. So first, what we do is we do case selection. Well, and then how are we going to transmit 10 years of my or 13 years of my surgical knowledge to someone in 3 days? It's an impossibility. However, what we can do is I can be available to do case planning with every doc who comes through the courses. So what they do is they'll take a picture of the panel, they'll send me the medical history, they'll plan the implant in the CBCT and do a quick video and then just text me. And I have my long commute to Greeley, which works out for a reason. So now I'm answering calls and handling that about my Tesla. So then it just drives me and I can work while I commute. And so I'm answering all the alumni cases, and I'm like, okay, I hop on the phone or I drop into my audio and I say, okay, this is a good case for these reasons, and this is the approach I would take. And then these are the medications you got to think about. Here's the medical history. Did we evaluate this? So on and so forth. Or this is a moderate case. Here, you're going to hit the cortical bone. When the implant does this, this is what this means. You're bottoming on the submandibular fossa, or whatever the case may be. And then this is a hard case. Like, I would refer this all day. Like, refer this one right now. I know where you are from a skill set perspective. We got to leave ego on the side, and we got to send this one to the specialist. But what we do with the specialist is we send that to the specialist. We call them and we say, hey, I want to buy you and your team coffee, and I want to come watch this case get done. And then you watch the specialist do the case in their own office, and you take an hour or two or an afternoon off. But then that's free CE there too. I mean, granted, you paid for coffee, but it's free CE that you can get at a local doc. And then you're building your reputation in the community. The specialists are reinvesting in you as well. So it's like this like ecosystem that you can create for yourself when approached in the correct way. And the reason I know this is because I've done it the wrong way. I pissed off all the specialists in northern Colorado in the beginning, because I came in and I was just so like, I had so much ego, and I was like, I just had such a chip on my shoulder, and I was just trying to prove that I belonged there and I could do the work as good as them, and whatever was going on in my young adolescent brain at the time. And really, at the end of the day, I should have just like, hey, let's go get lunch, let's go get coffee. Like, can I pick your brain? Can I come watch you do your thing? And now I'm repairing those relationships. But I promise it's way easier to be on good terms with someone than it is to like be viewed as an asshole and then have to undo all that too. So I just speak from a vantage point of not doing it well, and then understanding what I wish I would have done and being able to give that to other people now.
Nice. So I mean, all right, to kind of end it. So how many dentists have come through CSI? Do you have an idea?
I think we're 600 plus, maybe closer to 700 at this point.
Oh wow.
But yeah, 600 to 700 dentists who have come through.
So I mean, I don't know. As
That's
we were
awesome.
talking, I was like, oh geez, there's like 50 other tangents we could go and talk about other stuff, like how to do case selection, how to deal with like there's a lot of fun stuff we could also talk about that are probably like completely separate episodes. So if you're ever down to come back on,
Yeah,
I already have some other thoughts of some stuff we could do.
yeah, we can go any direction that you guys want to go, and as many of you who want to do.
Nice. That'll be awesome.
That's awesome.
All right,
yeah.
well, it's late. I know we're in the same time zone. He's up north Denver, and we're down south Denver. But yeah, thanks for coming on. We always appreciate it, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate you guys having me, and I know we have a lot to cover, and we got all the time in the world to get there too.